Good morning and happy Friday from the North Fork. Um, I'm Sunita, and every Friday I hop on with my two co-hosts, Tracy from Miss Tracy Kessler and Kelly from NOFO Endless Summer, and we talk about everything North Fork. The weather is changing so quickly. I'm so thrown off by it. It's been summer until 2 days ago, and now fall has kicked in. I literally had to dig out my sweater this morning. It's incredible how quickly the weather changes. I know. Morning, how are you? Are
Good morning. How
you
are
drinking ice something or warm something? It is
I am
so chilly.
drinking pumpkin spice. We've gone to the pumpkin spice and there's no going back.
I'm so not ready for it, but I guess that's what it is because it's just suddenly dropped so quickly, you know?
Yeah, I know. I mean, this morning I was dressing my kids for school, and yesterday they were in shorts and t-shirts, and today was pants, and I debated on the long sleeves, but this is that weird time of year when you dress them in the morning and then by school pickup they're dying and it's so hot.
You need layers and layers and layers. You don't know how to dress. I mean, we went to a couple of events this week, right? I mean, I saw you at one, which happened to be at the restaurant where we had the guest today, and it was beautiful to be outside in the evening. This is what we're talking about. Is we have a women's in business. Good morning, women's in business networking. I guess it's a meeting. I mean, it would be a party if there was cake, but it's a meeting. And we meet once a month in different locations on the North Fork. So if you are a North Fork business and you want to join our networking meeting, DM us and we'll add you. But we were outside at the restaurant and it was beautiful.
We're talking about the weather, Chris. You want to chime in about your thoughts on the weather?
I woke up and I thought to myself, the first thing is I left too many windows open.
I can't hear you. Is it just me?
You're muffled. Do you have something covering your mic?
This is what I'm doing. I got to switch to a different phone.
Okay.
And then last night, I was saying I was at another event at RGNY, and first we went in and set up in the tasting room. It was a slow hour for slow food, and then we peeked outside and it was so beautiful. And we stayed outside.
Slow food. I joined last night, so I'm
awesome.
I'm very excited. And I was looking at the website and there's a capability to gift a membership. So I'm going to gift my sister one. And they have chapters everywhere, I see. Like, my sister lives in California.
We are in 160 countries.
Oh, my God.
It's an international organization. And yes, that's so, first of all, thank you for joining. It's awesome. And, we do so much on the East End. So I know you'll love all the stuff we're doing. And they're in New York City. Where is your sister?
She's in San Francisco.
Oh, they're probably pretty active there too. Although I must say the East End is one of the most active chapters in the country, even more active and bigger than New York City, if you can imagine the foodie scene here. So
amazing. Chris, can we hear you?
Welcome back, Chris.
I don't know. Is this better right now?
Yes, we can.
All right, great. So the problem is I have one cell phone that I use for work, so it gets dropped a lot, and I think the mic's cracked on that one, but this one is perfectly fine.
Okay. The microphone's probably filled with like flour or food or something, or
yeah, well, there's that too. For some reason, whatever I do, it's either the grease or the oil or all the food. I can never have a phone work where the female part doesn't stay unclogged enough where I can continually charge it. So I'm definitely a big proponent of the wireless charger.
Nice.
How
do
are
you
y'all
have a bird in your house? Do I hear a bird?
Oh, sorry, that's me. My window's open and they're very loud here.
I was like, Chris, I didn't know you were a bird keeper as well as a chef.
I don't think birds would fare very well in this house. I have 2 cats.
Oh, no, definitely not. So we were talking about the weather. What are your thoughts?
It was really nice like 2 days ago, and now I'm just cold in the morning. So I'm looking forward to like 2 p.m. where it's warm again.
Yes, exactly. We were just saying how you don't know what it's going to be like by the time 2, 3 o'clock rolls around. Are you going to be sweating, or is it going to stay? So
it's definitely that time of year. It's like it's almost like you want to wear like cut off jeans so that you have the shorts option in the middle of the day, but it's
Yeah.
too cold. It's too warm. It's too cold for the shorts right when you walk out the door.
Exactly. Exactly.
It was
Well, you
very
were
much.
saying,
It was very much this like when I was living in Vail in Colorado, and you wake up in the morning and it was 50 degrees, and then it's 85 by the middle of the day, and then it's back to 50 degrees again. I remember one day in particular, I was working in Denver, so I'd commute. So, I'd be up in the mountains, which is even higher elevation. And then I go to Denver, and it was 100 degrees, and then I go across the pass, and it was 40, and I'm like, this is not real life right now.
No, you can't plan. There's no
No,
planning when weather is like that. So
no,
Chris, tell us about Dimon. Tell us about the rebrand. Give everybody a little background before we jump in.
sure, no problem. Dimon Estate is located on Manor Lane in Jamesport. The road is actually named after the building. It used to be a major thoroughway back when they used to Iron Pier used to be the main trade dock for the town. So it was very much like the center of attention. So everybody knew the manor. The Dimon Estate is an ode, and I rebranded it to ode back to the original family that owned the property for over 200 years. The Dimon family, there was 5 generations that lived or worked on that property, starting from the first John Dimon, who came over from Connecticut and bought about 200 acres of land in 1680. And then the next John Dimon bought the property in which the restaurant, the orchard, and the garden sit on today in about 1723. And they used it to farm for about 200 years. John farmed, then his dad, John, farmed, and then his dad, the next father, he moved out to Brooklyn. He became a shipbuilder, and he got very, very wealthy. They grew up in Brooklyn. At that point, the uncle started farming the property. His name, I think, was Charles. I can't be too sure right now at 9 a.m., but essentially, the last John F., comes back after meeting a wife in Peru. He was the son of the shipbuilder, and he had gotten wealthy by trading guano off of the Peruvian islands, as well as
Who knew?
well, so apparently guano in Peru was a very big deal. When I talked to Richard Wines, there was a short, 10-year period in which people just cleaned off these islands that were just full of guano, bird shit, if anybody doesn't know, and they use it for fertilizer. So he brought his Peruvian wife back. He bought the property that was his grandfather's from his uncle, and then he stripped down the farmhouse where they had lived, and he built this beautiful Victorian Second Empire mansion. And he and his family lived there until all of their deaths. And then that was until 1933, which it was sold. It became Twin Oaks, a restaurant. And from 1933 until 2022, it was a restaurant, or it was a brothel, or it was, there's many stories. There are many stories about what it was after it changed names from the family. But I think what I really wanted to do with the rebrand was to bring it back home where what it had predominantly been, which was this family's estate and farm. I wanted to get away from the Jamesport Manor Inn because there was never a room for anybody to stay. So it was a very misleading thing. Up until December when we closed, I was still getting phone calls being like, do you have room for us? And I'd have to say, no, we don't.
Is there room at the inn?
There is, yeah. Is there room at the end? So it's like a Cooper's Inn, where I don't know that they have rooms either, as far as I know. So it's like a fake name that makes people feel one way inside, but it wasn't functional for what I was going to do going forward.
Interesting.
Now there
oh my
is
God,
a room.
I'm loving this history lesson.
Me too.
You have dropped so many gems in here, starting with, I didn't even know that the street was named after, and how cool that I didn't even know that Iron Pier was actually a port where we had stuff going on. So loving this history lesson. I know it's a little early in the morning. I'm glad we recapped this, and I'm glad we have replays, because I feel like everybody should go back and listen, because you really did put in a lot of information in there.
Yeah, so there's an even more extensive history lesson, if you want to call this first period history class with Chef Chris, you can do that. But yeah, if you want to really dive into the history, Richard Wines really set us up about when we first opened the property in 2007. And when I say we, I mean my father, my mother.
Who's Richard Wines?
Richard Wines. He put together a 9-page history of the estate and the families. And there are some really, really cool stories. Like there's an uncle that was part of the Revolutionary War. You have scandal and gossip, because they were socialites at that point, about who's marrying who, and there's a divorce now. So there's a lot of really cool stories that I can tell about the Dimons. And again, that's another reason why I want to go back, and I want to farm that literally the property and their stories, and be able to tell that, and then tell it in a way that now is relevant on the North Fork. So if I say farm to table, everybody knows that. But if I can say farm to table plus, okay, this clipper ship that they built used to go to China, and I'm going to do togarashi and a lot of Asian themed flavors at one part in the menu, and then be able to tell this story, it elevates kind of the dining experience in a way that I think is fun and different than everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love the whole history aspect to it. And I think that a lot of people don't realize that you do the menu based a lot on what's grown on the estate, and then also a little bit of the history is mixed in there, which I think is very cool and very unique.
Yeah,
Well,
it's fun.
earlier this week, we was talking at the top of the show that our entrepreneurial women's group met at the restaurant, and it was my first time there after all the updates and the changes, and it looks spectacular. And everything you're talking about, the farm to table, I mean, we happened to be outside for this particular event, so we could see the gardens, and I want to call them edible gardens, and the decorative gardens were just bursting with life. And I was so distracted with meeting the 100 women that were there that I didn't get a chance to walk through the raised beds and all the stuff you were growing. But tell us a little bit more about what you're growing there and how you're incorporating that into the cooking.
Absolutely. So the raised bed edible garden is for two things. One, the bar. So I have a lemon basil drink. We have lemon basil growing. We were using edible flowers all season. Obviously, it's the end of the time for that. There's only much longer the flowers are going to live. I have a ghost pepper chili plant in there, in which I'm going to harvest soon because they're getting quite red, and we'll infuse tequila, and that'll be next up, like on the menu.
Awesome.
Like a ghost infused tequila margarita. I'm not 100% sure how we're gonna put it on the menu, but it's gonna be an infusion 100%.
Kelly and I are happy to come volunteer to be testers, because sometimes you don't know what you want to make, but we'll tell you what's good.
Yes.
Okay.
We're good testers for sure.
Big thing for me is tomatoes. So I have 2 dishes that are straight tomatoes. I get them from Wickham's farm because I won't, this year there's no way for me to keep up with the amount of tomatoes I need to grow to put out of the kitchen.
Chris, can I pause you there for a second?
Absolutely.
If you have a chance to try the tomato burrata pistachio dish that's on the menu right now, I love this dish. I literally dream about this dish. It is so good. So that's my plug for my favorite menu item of right now.
Thank you. Yeah, so that dish, cherry tomatoes, mixed cherry heirlooms from Wickham. I have about, I want to say 25 to 30 tomato plants on the property. So I'm able to get an okay amount of harvest, in which I'll do like a Sunday special that runs into Monday. Normally bruschetta or a spicy crab tomato with a rustic sauce. But most of the time I'm just giving it away. Like somebody will be sitting at the bar. I have my basket of tomatoes there, and they'll talk about what they're growing, and I'll be like, try this tomato, or take this home. I have cheese pumpkins, Long Island cheese pumpkins in the back. There's probably about a dozen right now that I'm going to be able to harvest. Butternut squash, zucchini, patty pan squash. they kind of got hit hard on the last drought, so I'm not harvesting as much from them.
Chris,
But
can I pause you for a second?
yeah,
Sunita, you were at Dimon this past Wednesday with the women's group and I, but I want to talk about how extensive the property is that you don't even realize what it goes so far back. Chris once gave me a tour of everything. They had like a full orchard back there, an entire orchard. So Chris, tell us a little bit about the actual property, and will you give Sunita and Tracy and I another tour?
yeah, absolutely. So tour is no problem. Come on. I know that all your days are very busy, but for me, Thursday, Mondays, I'm very much available before dinner service to talk with y'all and show you around. We have an apple orchard in the back. It's about 8 rows of apples. So very micro, but I can't compare it to like Harbs. I can't compare it to Woodsides down the road. But in 2015, when we were trying to think about what we were going to do with that space, I said, look, we're between Harbs and we're right in a sandwich between Harbs and Woodside. Let's put an orchard here. It's not for picking in a sense, but it's for me being able to use it in food. So I have basically it's a jam puree that I'm using the apples for. I'm going to start doing apple cider vinegar because when I took over the orchard this year, it definitely needed some love, and I want to make sure that I can get the best possible apple before I really start using the apple as a star. Vinegars and jams and stuff, it's not about having the perfect apple. Apples are good enough because if you grow them organic and you spray them right, they're going to taste good. They just might be a little bit ugly. So right now we have a lot of.
I love
Chris,
the more you're talking, the more I love your vision. I love how you're embracing, for lack of a better word, the North Fork life. I mean, like you said, you're not growing it to be a farm and to be able to offer farm tours necessarily, but you're a restaurant that then bringing back the vision of the farm that pre-existed, and you're utilizing the land in a way that supplements and supports what you're primarily doing. So I want to,
yes.
the foodie in me wants to hear more about that food, the tomato, burrata, whatever it is, all of that sounds good. What else, what is typical dishes that you offer either seasonally or on the menu that, that you're currently showcasing?
Sure thing. And about the North Fork, I mean, I was born in Riverhead Hospital, and I graduated from Mattuck High School. I left for about 3.5 years to do my journey and learn other chefing that didn't have anything to do with here. So I'm very much rooted and connected to what's going on, and I want to be a part of all of that. And I want to do it the best way possible in that vein. Dishes on the menu. So I have 3 or 4 dishes that pretty much stay the same. I have panko crusted fluke dish, whitefish, which rotates depending on what I think the best thing to put on at that point is, but it's over a lemon ricotta gnocchi, pesto.
Okay, I'm good. You don't have to talk about others. I'm good with that one.
Yeah.
You're amazing.
We'll go seasonally now. So seasonally in the spring this year, and I probably will continue to do this, is I'll kind of go Asian flavors because I want to use things like snap peas and cabbage. So like kimchi and just Asian flavored salads go really, really well for me. So I'll go that route. Because I really do feel that the spring produce plays well to those flavor profiles. And then I can tell the story about the Sea Witch, the clipper ship that made the fastest run from New York to China.
Give us a quick rundown about the Sea Witch, because the Sea Witch is a major part of the menu. There are cocktails after the Sea Witch. So give us like a quick history lesson on that. Yeah,
no problem. So the Sea Witch was a fast clipper ship built by Smith and Diamond shipyards in, I want to say 1849, and it was part of the tea trade, and it was just built for extreme speed. And this was a time when it was right before steamships started becoming like the major way to transport goods. So you build this really, really fast clipper ship, and there's no Panama Canal at that point. So it's going east to go west all the way to China, and it's going to pick up tea and silk and other exotic luxury goods. And it had the record, and it still does have the record for the fastest trip from China to New York by a single hulled masted vessel. I think it did it in 140 days. I have to check that up, but it has the record, still has the record. And then there's not only that it had the record, it is a storied ship. If you're into clipper ships, if you're into that type of thing, which there are a cult of people, or there are people where that is their hobby. It is very much famous in that circle. There's a novel written about it.
Oh, wow.
Have newspaper clippings from when the first mate kills the captain because of a mutiny. So there's a lot of really, really cool stories just off of that one little bit in which John Dimon was the partner of the shipyard that built these extreme clipper ships.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
So that's
when we signed you onto the show, Chris, I thought we'd be talking about food, but I am so fascinated by all the other stuff you have to talk about as well. This is lovely.
Yeah, so that's the thing, is like it's hard because I and this is just between us and the viewers. It's hard. I don't have the marketing budget to be able to tell all of this, right? And even if I did, it's hard because I can only do small pieces at a time. So what you're going to see at the Dimon Estate is, over time, where I'm going to be able to slowly tell this story, and the people that are into it, the people that become fans, the people that come back, every 2 months, they're going to learn something new. And that's what I really, really want.
Well, anytime you want to come back on and showcase, what you're currently talking about, or give us more history. I mean, I have to give a shout out to Tracy. I feel bad that she had to miss today's show because she's working on something else, but I know she would have appreciated all of this history that you're giving us.
So now my favorite part about it is when you actually go to Dimon, you can get a tour of the interior of the building, which I have done, and you get all of this really great rich history, and everything from like the art on the walls all has this incredible history. So it's not just like a beautiful painting of a ship on the wall, and it's not just like, oh, that picture window in the front of the building is so pretty. Well, it was built there for XYZ reason. Like everything has this really cool history about it, and it all ties into the food, which I feel like really gives it like more of an experience than just going to a typical restaurant.
I feel like it's a shame that you're behind in the kitchen making all this delicious food. You need to find, out of 7 days, like 6 days you're back there, but one day you're sitting in the front and just fireside sharing stories. I can just see this event outside in your, in the backyard you have.
Yeah, you should do like a walk
out to listen to whatever you want to share history about.
Yeah. Funny you should say that. I actually am going to be out front on Monday nights now. So
wow.
it's kind of the industry night in a sense. I want to be open on Mondays for the people who have to work the weekends. So I'm hosting. So if you want to come and chat history or the menu, which I see like Larry's over here, like, let's talk about food, guys. If you want to talk about the history of the menu.
My favorite, by the way. I love the last menu. I love burger night, but I think the current menu is my favorite of the menus that I've tried. So if you're watching, get it while you can, because Chris likes to change the menu often.
Yeah. The next menu change will be probably middle of October.
So and there's not much time.
Yeah, no, not a lot of time left. You got about a month. Yeah, Bobby, about a month for this menu. Then I'm going to go to October, and we're going to go Latin. We're going to talk about Rosalie. We're going to talk about Rosalie Dimon, the Peruvian princess that John F. Dimon married and brought back to the estate. And, I'm going to do like a poblano, tomatillo sauce, salsa verde, coffee rubbed steak. It's definitely going to be a little bit spicier, but more fun.
Spicier in more ways than one, it sounds like.
Yes, very much.
So Monday, I want to go back to this Monday because I know Larry's already saying he's going to be there. I plan on being there. Are you talking this Monday? Are you talking every Monday? Can you tag us or post on Instagram when you are planning on hosting so we can all swing by?
Yeah, absolutely. So I went out this week and I went to a Tanger, and I got, my nice hosting clothes, so I don't have to be out there in my my apron. So I'll be at the hostess stand on Mondays for sure, every Monday from here going forward. unless we get absolutely swamped and I got to go back and jump on the line. But I'm in a good space right now where I'm able to do that, and I'm really excited about it.
I think
Awesome.
people really need to know. It just adds so much to the experience of eating the food. So when you have the history, when you have this like personal connection with it, it really makes a difference in
It
my
does.
opinion. So,
Absolutely.
Okay, given that you have such a history with North Fork, let's jump right into our
Ooh, question.
same but different. So the same questions but different perspective.
Sure.
If you were, I mean, obviously we're going to see you on Monday, so we're going to be eating with you there on Monday. But if you were to either take us out for lunch or dinner to a different establishment on the North Fork, where would that be?
Typically, when I go out for lunch, it's either Manor or Biscuit or Bruce and Son, because my lunch it becomes a breakfast because I wake up at like 10:30 on my off days. That is my go-to for the morning, and then at nighttime, I mean, I'm more of like a drinks and appetizers. So I'll go. I live in Greenport, so I'll go to American Beach, or we'll go to Bricks and Rye, and then we'll get the pizza. Those are kind of my go-to spots right now.
Nice.
Walnuts.
I say yes to all of those, right? I mean, they're all delicious.
Yeah, and there's a bunch that I left out because I know, like, John Gambino comes in every Monday, and I haven't been to Il Gardino in quite some time, but they very much have the garden vibe in the back, and I need to go see that, and I need to go eat his food because he does a really great job.
That is a
Chris,
beautiful
are
space
you
as
a
well.
winery or a beer guy? And what's your go-to?
Winery over beer right now for me. My go-to winery is either Terra Vitae right down the road. Matabella, she does a really phenomenal job curating the space. There's roses everywhere. There's fig trees. There's tomato trellises. She does everything the best she can organic. I don't know that she's certified organic because I spoke with her about this, but she does everything in the most sustainable way she possibly can. So I dig that, right? So those are the top two, I'd say. Evan M is up there. I really like the new space. I think I had some white wine last time I went, and it was phenomenal. So those are three of my top picks, I'd say. Corey Creek, always.
Chris is giving us just like a rundown of everybody.
Well, I want to give a shout
Yeah.
out to the organic part, because I think what you said is so important, because a lot of the farms, a lot of the people that are growing stuff here are following sustainable organic practices, but not necessarily, jumping through all the hoops that they need to do in order to be certified organic. So that's a very important point to make here, because there are many farms and vineyards doing those practices.
It's an interesting thing, because if you get into actual talking to the farmers, it's like, yeah, I can do this organic and use copper, but really that's not the best thing to use. Yes, is it organic? But no, it's not the best way for me to treat this problem when you just spraying copper on everything. So it's hard. It's hard. And then you get the animals where if you get a sick animal, I can't give it medicine. But the certified organic thing is a great thing to
Chris.
Well, I think you're having a little bit of Wi-Fi issue, so we're going to rush through the remaining three questions. You mentioned you wake up late. I don't wake up early for a sunrise either. So do you have a sunset spot, or you're back now?
You're on a delay, I think, a little bit.
Are you, do you wake up early to catch a sunrise, or is there a secret sunrise or sunset spot that you frequent?
We're losing him.
Is he spinning? Yeah.
He's spinning. It wouldn't be a NOFO live show without tech issues.
I mean, usually it's Southall that has the problem. Well, welcome back, Greenport. Is Chris back? Nope. I mean, I feel like Optimum gets a shout out every week.
Area.
You're back.
You're back-ish.
I'm back. Ish. I can't see myself. Can you hear me?
Okay, sunrise, sunset. Do you have a location?
Sunset, Dimon Estate, every time.
Yeah, Dimon Estate does have a great sunset. It really does.
Monday night, it's a date.
Yes, Sunset, Dimon Estate.
Awesome.
Yeah. If you haven't been to Dimon Estate, they have a really amazing, obviously, interior, but the outside garden area is gorgeous. And obviously, you know, it's an upscale restaurant, but it helps it be a little bit more lower scale in terms of if you have kids and you want to bring them there. Not that I suggest that you let them run wild, but it doesn't feel like you're in a restaurant where they have to be like super quiet all the time, you know?
Well, yeah.
So that's why I love bringing the kids there.
Outside area is phenomenal. Amsonia Design, that's my girlfriend. She basically, I said, do what you want to do. And she's taken and run with it with the amount of, you know, resources we had available.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the gardens are absolutely gorgeous. They really
Well,
are.
I see Christina from the Treatery just hopped on. I want to give a shout out to her. And thank you, Chris, for having her at our event, because she was out there with Stella, her truck, with some delicious food. That was awesome. So good to see you, Christina. Talk to me. I know you mentioned some farm stands. I know a lot of the local restaurants work with local farm stands. You mentioned Wickham's for tomatoes. Are there other farm stands you frequent for yourself or the restaurant?
It's Wickham's and Bayview. I'd say I use 95% of the time for the restaurant. For myself, I stop at KK's on the way home. They have some pretty fun tomato varieties that you won't really see elsewhere. But yeah, those are really my three. I don't really stray too much from those, to be honest. Oh, Wowak, always Wowak. My beans are from Wowak, and they do a phenomenal job.
I know
Yeah.
the longer I live here, the more I'm becoming, oh, I get my corn from Farmer Joe's. Oh, I get my tomatoes. You know, like I drive around to 4 or 5 places to get everything that I need, which is, you know, crazy, but fun.
Yeah, Thursdays I pick up my tomatoes at Wickham. I get my beans at Wowak. Then I'll pick up duck typically at Crescent. And then I finish up at Bayview with the corn. And then I get back to the restaurant. It takes me like an hour and a half just to get my stuff, but it's worth it.
Definitely worth it when you go around and gather everything that's like perfectly what you want. Chris, so to wrap things up, you were born here on the North Fork. What do you love about being part of the North Fork community?
For me, I'm kind of selfish. So like the days where I can go out on the water and like forage oysters and, you know, go crabbing or something like that, and then just eat it at the end of the night. When I cook, I definitely use the best possible technique. But when I'm cooking for myself, I'm just like, this is the simplest. Let's like eat this the way that they were meant to be eaten. So oysters, I just like smash open and I'll eat it. And the crabs, you just, you know, steam them up and you're ripping them open. You're trying to get all the meat you possibly can. So that's really my favorite part about being part of the North Fork. And the sunsets, honestly. I've been in many places and seen beautiful sunsets, but there's something about a North Fork sunset that sets it apart.
I couldn't agree with you more on the last one and everything else you said before that. Thank you so much, Chris, for joining us. We love chatting with you. Follow the Dimon Estate. If you aren't already, go hop in there, check out the menu. I will certainly try to be there on Monday or on Monday soon. And we'll see you then. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Have a great weekend.
Bye.